What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm doing another top 10 list. I've done so far for film, and y'all aren't watching them. I mean, some of them are being watched, but not all of them. So go back through and check them out. But I've done my worst horror movies of the year. I've done the worst movies of the year, horror movies list, documentaries list. I've done first time feature. I've done best director. I've done supporting actress, supporting actor, score, and yesterday was best actor. Now I'm taking a break again from acting to dive into another category I would like to shine some light on. And these are the top 10 most underrated films of the year. These are, I saw, after all this is done, I'm going to read out a really long fucking list and give you like brief thoughts on everything that I saw. But I've seen over 450 movies released in 2024. So I'm constantly disappointed by like underrated or unsung lists that include movies that made like $10 million at the box office, like Thelma. So um, I tried to limit these lists to films that I really truly felt like were being ignored throughout award season or barely represented. Nobody really saw them. People aren't really talking about them. Some of them maybe have a little bit of attention, but they didn't really do a lot at the box office. So I don't think wider audiences are hearing them. I tried to like bring down that list a little bit. So without further ado, and I'll let you know what has audio description, what doesn't, because in order to be underrated, a lot of these films are going to not have audio description. I'm going to have a different list that is the top 10 films I wish had audio description this year. We got some honorable mentions I want to say first. Wicked Little Letters. I've actually seen this movie twice, once without audio description, once with audio description. I liked it much better the second time around when it had audio description. It's shocking, I know. But that would absolutely make my list as an honorable mention. After that, Dandelion. I really enjoyed Dandelions from IFC. Certainly this year, IFC got attention for some of their films like Late Night with the Devil, Ghostlight, uh, you know, but not Dandelion. Dandelion fell through the cracks, and I enjoyed that movie a lot. Moving up the list on honorable mentions to Whitebird. This movie made $1 million at the domestic box office. It's the sequel to Wonder. It's way better than $1 million at the box office. I don't know what's happening, but it's actually a pretty solid World War II drama. Helen Mirren's in it, sort of. Gillian Anderson's in it, sort of. I mean, this is one of those films where like the kids are the leads, so the adults are sort of in this, you know. I just feel like Lionsgate blew all of their money on Borderlands and The Crow, and had no money to spend the rest of the year on better movies like, you know, Whitebird. Anyway, moving up the list to In the Summers. I wanted audio description for this. I did see it. I liked it. It's an LGBTQ leaning indie that did really well at Sundance, and then everyone forgot about it, including my LGBT group. Like, In the Summers just went nowhere. It got all this critical praise at the beginning of the year coming out of Sundance, and then everyone was like, I don't know what was that movie. It's coming to Hulu in February, so if you get a chance to check it out and you're excited, please do. It seems like it's a lovely little movie. Moving up the list, National Anthem. I thought this was really solid. Another LGBT title. A lot of these are gonna be LGBT titles. It just totally flew under the radar. Yeah, this is a pretty solid movie. Some people knew about it, some people didn't. But it didn't really do banger box office. So moving up the list. The Old Oak. This is Ken Loach's film. If you're British, you're probably like, oh, well, I know what that is. You probably do. It was nominated for best BAFTA film. Over here, though, we kind of just we were like, did someone fart? Was that? It just like hit with like nothing, like no effect whatsoever. Has no audio description. It's just completely ignored over here, and I really wanted audio description for it. It seemed like this was totally my jam, and it just didn't happen. So moving up the list. High Tide. Um, this is another one where I'm just like, I don't know what happened. This was, I don't know what happened. Like why this movie was not nominated at all. Uh, with with Gallica, I don't understand. I was like, did we not watch High Tide? Were we? I felt so weird, like Challengers being nominated for Queer Film of the Year, and then like not films like High Tide or In the Summers or stuff like that. I was like, what's happening? Where they're like, it's very tangentially queer Challengers. Like we're really embracing that on a very broad use. And there are a whole bunch of these little indies that really could have used some love. And we just, nobody saw them, I guess. We got to get screeners to, guys, you got to get them out there, man. High Tide needs audio description though. I can't, it's not going to be able to be on my top 25 of the year, but the parts of it that I could follow, I was charmed by. Anyway, moving up the list. Glitter and Doom. This is another one that didn't have audio description. Another LGBTQ title that it's a musical. I didn't even know what this was. To be honest, I was sent a screener for this, and then I found out afterwards when I looked at the cast, I was like, man, this mother is on Tubi and Roku. What the? I could have just seen this in. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed it a lot more than Amelia Perez, actually. So if we want to make a swap, I know it's not going to like be culturally great, but it is an LGBTQ musical. We could just swap them real quick. Anyway, moving up the list. Nowhere Special. I mentioned this before. James Norton's heartbreaking. Man, I wanted audio description on this so bad. This is a heart fucking breaking movie. This is one of those plots where you read the plot summary and you're just like, oh my god, what the hell? He's a single father who's diagnosed with a terminal illness and basically given an end date. So he has just so much time to figure out who's going to be taking care of his kid, because his wife is not in the picture, is not an option. He doesn't seem to have any other family. So he's taking his son around to some potential families and seeing how his son interacts. And it's gut-wrenching. And, he's trying to hide the fact from his son. This is a film that I so want more people to see. I so want audio description on. This is one of the delightful screener surprises that I had this year. Moving up the list. It's What's Inside. It's on Netflix. I've seen this movie more than once. And I'm sort of captivated with the way that it tells storytelling. I think this movie sort of flew away from everybody. It just kind of hit Netflix, and I think people thought it was a Netflix movie of the week. One of my favorite critics actually kind of reviewed it like it was, and I was like, by the way, this was and then I had to hit him for Woman of the Hour too. I was like, no, these are not, you can't review these the same way you review Netflix movies of the week that are actually just being churned out by Netflix. It's like, these were film festival pickups, not the other. They were not made by Netflix. They were bought by Netflix. So there's a different level of quality that went into them. And if you attack it like it's a Netflix movie of the week, then you're just showing your hand that you're going to attack every single Netflix movie of the week, So it's really unfortunate because I thought this was a great movie. Moving up the list to The Return, which I thought was really good, throwing that in there. at the last minute. Admittedly, I was like, where's the return on here? It should be on here. Yeah, the return is when I was thinking about films. Lionsgate had more films this year, and they just all kind of died. The return came out and died. I get it. Ray Fiennes was in another film this year, and that was all he was ever going to be nominated for. And they chose to release The Return, but it's Ray Fiennes reteaming with Juliette Binoche. This was on somebody's bottom of the year list, and I was shocked. I was like, you would need to see more movies. You need to see more movies than The Return. And also Small Things Like These was another Lionsgate title that was really great, with Cillian Murphy, that got like no attention. Just no attention at all. From box office, from press, just from the awards circuit. It just kind of landed, and just people were like, I don't know. I don't care. It's just very depressing. Anyway, moving up the list, number 10 is Day of the Fight. Yeah, this movie has made another one of my lists already. So you find it on at least one other list that I've made. I count it. Yeah, I got a screener to this, and I was like, I don't know what this is. Got a great cast. And I didn't realize who the lead was. And I was like, oh my God, it's Michael Pitt. For some reason, I had already heard that like Joe Pesci was in this and Steve Buscemi was in this. But then I realized the lead was Michael Pitt, and I was like, man, he's fantastic. Where's Michael Pitt been? I couldn't think of the last thing he'd done since Boardwalk Empire. I had no idea. I was like, where's he been all these years? Very solid actor that just kind of went away for a little while, I guess, and then came back with Day of the Fight, and it's really kind of a knockout performance in a boxing movie. I used that intentionally. Thank you. I enjoyed the movie, and it came with audio description. It made me so happy because I have movie studios that I know are making audio description. This is an indie movie that doesn't have the backing, and I see these movie studios, and I see movie studios that have platforms that they're sending these screeners to that have audio track like on there, but there's no audio description. I was like, why do you have audio track as an option on the platform you built if you're not going to use it to put a fucking audio track there? What is the point? Like, why is the button there? So yeah, I appreciated this movie a lot, and I thought it was a really solid drama. And if you get a chance to check out Day of the Fight, I don't even think it's on VOD yet. I don't know where this movie is. I think the director is just really upset. He sent it out with like a very nice personal letter, in the FYC thing about like why you should consider this movie. And I was like, man, you're trying, man. But in this race, I feel like nobody even knows your movie exists. But I'll watch it and I'll review it and put it out there. But I don't have enough followers. I can't hack Chris Stuckman's channel and steal it from him and suddenly start talking about Day of the Fight. I'd love to, but I can't. Moving up the list, number 9. Dogman. Luc Besson's Dogman. This is one of the weirdest things I've seen this year. And I'm not even saying this is a great movie. I actually don't know. I was watching Dogman, and my brain still can't wrap around this. I keep thinking about, every time I think about Dogman, I always giggle and I laugh, and I'm like, what is this movie? What is this really? Did I really enjoy it? Or is it one of the best so bad it's good movies that it actually rebounded all the way up and has confused me into thinking it's a great movie? Like, did it actually hit rock bottom and then became all the way? I've accepted that that's the possibility, that it's actually one of the worst movies ever made, but it's also the most entertaining worst movie ever made. And I'm loving it either way. I don't know what it is, but I think if you haven't seen Dogman, it is nuts. When you think about, from the director of The Fifth Element, Leon the Professional, Valerian, it doesn't feel like anything he's done before somehow. And yet I can kind of see Luc Besson doing it. Like, now that I'm like, yeah, I could see that. And it does have audio description. So, and Caleb Landry Jones is fantastic. And this has also been on I put this on 2 lists so far as a film. So moving up the list, number 8, Firebrand. Yeah, Firebrand. So, the film that just I saw this in the summer. Didn't know much about it. It's Jude Law and Alicia Vikander. She's playing the well, if you've seen the musical Six, and you know the story of the 6 wives of Henry VIII, and you know, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived, then you sort of actually know how this one ends. This is the 6th wife of Henry VIII. And it's about sort of watching him deteriorating, and he's just a giant asshole, and Jude Law was fantastic in this. Alicia Vikander is great in this. So yeah, this made my list. Has audio description. If you want to track it down, I already put, they're both going to be on the list. I'm just going to tell you, it's somewhere on the list. If you want to know where they are on the lists, I haven't done my actress list, but Alicia Vikander is on there. I'm not going to pretend like she's not just because I haven't put the list out there. So Firebrand is going to be on both the supporting actor and actress lists. So moving up the list to number 7 is Big Boys. I love this. This was beautiful. This was a cute little movie. And this has also been on 2 of my lists so far, Best Actor and Best First Time Feature. Hasn't won anything yet, but I mean, it's made 2 top 10 lists already. So this is 3rd top 10 list that I've made that Big Boys has been on. Another film that I was like, why is this not at Galaga? Where is this? Why is this not at Galaga? What are we doing, guys? Why is Thelma an unsung movie of the year? That movie exceeded its expectations and made more money of the music, more money than it was supposed to at the box office. If anything, it is a very sung movie of the year. So yeah, it would have been nice to see something like Big Boys get a spot, or any of the other movies I mentioned, but it's a little indie that could. It's got like 1 Spirit nomination. It's just chugging along. It's a really cute coming of age movie. This kid is so quirky. He's like really into Top Chef, and he's super excited for this camping trip with his cousin. And I want audio description on this movie so bad. And he goes out there and he's camping, and he's bummed because his cousin is bringing along her boyfriend, and he's like, oh man, it's gonna take away time. But it turns into this like story where he figures out like his own sexuality at the same time. He's like 14, I think, and so he ends up developing this like bond / relationship with with her boyfriend, and that's sort of what it's about. But he's so delightfully quirky. Like, he brought spices to the camp for when they do burgers for the cookout, and he's like explaining, he's like, yeah, this one gives some nice flavors. And I was like, I love this movie, and I love this kid. This kid is amazing. Because you could pick so many different kids that are obsessed with very different like nerdy things. He could be sitting there talking about Star Wars, you know what I'm saying? But no, here's a kid who's got like rubs and seasonings for the burgers. Was on his like essentials pack. He's like, oh yeah, I've always got some great spices with me. Really? Like, that's your thing? Man, that's really specific, but it's also kind of quirky and cool. I like the movie. Anyway, moving up the list. Number, what are we at? 6? Better Man. I shouldn't have to put this movie here because this movie was very expensive to make. And it's from the director of The Greatest Showman, and it's a biopic about Robbie Williams. But because nobody in America knows who Robbie Williams is, this movie made, again, like $1 million at the box office. So now all of us who saw Better Man and didn't like rush to immediately, let's be honest. I mean, I know a lot of critics, and they all came out in January with their reviews of Better Man, and we didn't release them earlier because it wasn't really in the awards conversation heavily, and we got around to it eventually. I just I didn't know when the embargo was for Better Man, so I sat on it. I saw the movie like a month ahead of time. I could have sang his praises for months. That's when you kind of have to look at embargoes and be like, yeah, you can go ahead and just tell everybody the movie's great. That'd be nice. Maybe Better Man would have made some money at the box office. I don't know, but um, yeah, it does technically have an Oscar nomination, so this one's stretching it a little bit. But I would argue that Oscar nomination is in visual effects. So when you look at the box office for this film, that's what qualifies it to be on Unsung Film of the Year, is that people just ignored this movie. Moving up the list, number 5? We'll find out. The People's Joker. The People's Joker did not have audio description, and I think this has been on a couple of my lists. Also, Better Man has been on. Better Man has made other lists. I forgot to mention that. Better Man, you can find that on my best directors list. That's a little spoiler thus far. And People's Joker, you can find that on best first time feature, best director, and it'll definitely be on some other lists as well that I haven't made yet. So I think this is probably the best film that I saw that didn't have audio description. I think that's what this is going to be, is when I make that list, this is probably going to be that winner, because I've been really taken with the sort of bold choice that Vera Drew made with The People's Joker. And I have no idea what Vera's next movie is going to look like. I have no idea what happens when you give Vera Drew a budget, but I do know that somewhere in there is a talented person, and I really hope that their next project will be as inventive and as creative and personal as this, but on a larger scale with better actors. I mean, they're fine for what they're doing because it's sort of shtick. Like, the film falls heavily into parody, which is how she was able to get away with boldly using the characters of Gotham in this and just straight up mentioning them, is because nobody would look at this and say it was a serious adaptation of Batman. So yeah, she kind of thumbed her nose at DC and made this movie, and it's delightfully wicked and everything we needed. And this film luckily got into Gallica. Man, let me tell you, the FYC campaign for this was she needs an award. Like, I don't know what y'all are doing out there for awards for people who market shit, but I got so many People's Joker like things. Like, I had already reviewed it, I already had it out there, and then I got like 10 more. I really believe that me at my little, chilling out, probably could have gotten the interview with Vera Drew. Like, I didn't reach out because I was like, I don't know, I feel like my channel and the way I do things, we're not there yet. I probably could have. Yeah, the publicist for this was fantastic and really got the film out there, and then we rewarded it with some awards at Gallico. But yeah, what a brilliant little movie. Anyway, moving up to list, number 4. Snack Shack. This is the film that I've run into a couple people who are like, yeah, I saw that. And I saw a couple other people who are like, what is that? And then some other people who are like, oh, I meant to see that. So yeah, I put it on the list because I feel like it's a film that landed. It's a summer movie that didn't land in the summer. That's the problem. It was a summer movie that dropped in March. This should have dropped in May when kids were getting ready to come out of school so they could go see something. I remember there was a film. Now I can't remember what it was, the name of the title. Never mind. I was going to make a reference, but there was a film maybe like 10 years ago. And I really liked it too. The Boys of Summer, Kings of Summer, something like that. Kings of Summer. I want to say that's the name of the film, where they went out into the woods and they built a fort. And that movie gained at least some traction because it released like at the beginning of June. As an independent feature, it had a lot of good praise behind it. But it also felt like exactly the kind of movie and exactly the date in which you would release that movie. I don't know why Snack Shack was released in March. It makes no sense. It's the worst release strategy for that movie ever. But it's a good movie. You should check it out if you haven't seen Snack Shack. And it's got our Golden Globe nominee Gabriel LaBelle is in it, and Connor Sherry is the star, and he's really good. So moving up the list, number 3. Problemista, Julio Torres' movie. This one's got a little bit of awards attention, mostly from LGBT critics, a little bit from Independent Spirit. So yeah, it's gotten a little bit, but it's I kept it on here because its box office is really underwhelming. A24, so it's going to have A24 people who watch it, but it needs to break out from that. It needs more people to see it. Julio Torres is kind of like Vera Drew, just like one of those bright new voices that came out and just had something to say. Very quirky way of saying it, different way of approaching story about like everything from being LGBTQ to being an immigrant, but also a little bit of a Devil Wears Prada lane, working for sort of like a nightmare boss in almost what felt like a science fiction story. But he's committed to working as a toy maker. It's everything, man. Problemista was just, I was just like, and the thing is, I don't even really like Julio's series that much. But I watch Julio's series, which I forget the name of it all the time because I didn't like it that much. And when I was watching it, I was like, he takes risks and he takes swings. And even if I don't always love everything he's doing, it feels fresh and it feels original. And I like that. I would much rather have that than, because we get so much content that just feels like it's coming off of like an algorithm nowadays. And Julio does not feel like he's coming out of an algorithm. He does kind of feel like he's just throwing shit at the wall to see if it sticks. But Problem is stuck for me. Moving up the list, number 2, my runner-up is Out of My Mind. It's on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen it, you probably didn't see it because it's about disability. It's got a disabled lead, and I'm sure everybody, well, DEI is a thing, so it's gone, dead. So people like me, I think we're supposed to go set ourselves on fire. I think that's the order. I think that's the message I'm getting from men in this country right now. So Out of My Mind is probably a movie that Disney's probably going to have to drop from their streaming service at some point just because it features disability and it's probably too inclusive. So catch it while you can because, we're all going to be disappearing soon as disabled people. But too inclusive here in America for us to exist, I guess. We're not allowed anymore. So Out of My Mind is great as a spectacular breakthrough performance at the center. I have and will continue to mention this film on my lists. I'm very taken by this movie and its approach, and the reason why another film that came out really helped me enjoy Out of My Mind more, because I was thinking about when Disney dropped Blink and wanted everybody to be like really sad about blindness. I was like, well, this movie, like, I feel bad for those kids too, but that movie does nothing for anybody, helps nobody, and has nothing to say. And then Out of My Mind comes out, and it actually presents you with the disability in sort of a realistic form, which Blink sort of does, but it also produces the reasons why, like the answer why. Like, what is it you're supposed to know? What is it that you're supposed to know? What are the struggles you're supposed to know exist? And how do we fix them? What is the accessibility required? What does she use to get through the day? What is it that she means? Like, if you were going to help her and advocate for her, what are you going to do to help this girl? To help the character played by Phoebe Ray-Taylor in a breakout role. And she'll probably never be cast again because it's really sad. But when you think about it, these like, where was the girl? I mean, there's so many things. Like, I'm impressed that Adam Pearson has acted in more than one thing. I feel like people just pull disabled actors on stage and then use them for a film and then gone. Where's our best supporting actor winner from Coda? Where's Troy? He just won an Oscar. Where is he? So it's it is one of those. It shows you though what she needs, so you know why. You know the why of everything, and that's why I loved Out of My Mind so much, is that yes, it presents her life with problems, it presents her with struggles, it presents the shit in her life that she goes through, but it also tells you how she can make her life better, what is it that she can do in her life? Can she contribute? There are things that she can do. Blink just sort of was like, our kids are going blind. We made a bucket list. I guess they die at the end of the movie. I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no like future for them, is what that movie is saying. This movie has no future, so we're just going to do this thing. It never talks about like what their future will be, whether or not they should have any sort of training, what their schooling is going to be, what their life is going to be like, what they're going to be learning. If you want to help the kids from Blink, what do you do? Like, what do you advocate for? If you're sad about this, why are you sad? It's the Free Willy of documentaries. You know, it makes you feel like you're doing something by watching it and supporting people, but you don't know why. Like, Free Willy hit theaters and everybody's like, oh my God, we saved Willy. Well, you didn't really, because the whales were still in tanks after the movie. I don't know if everybody realized that. We even made 2 more movies with Willy. He was never free. So, so it's, you know, if you're not going to do the work, then don't bother. Please don't bother. But Out of My Mind, I felt like did the work. I feel like Out of My Mind presented a story that everybody needed to hear and everybody needed to see. Unfortunately, this is America. And America we don't need no disabled people in America anymore. Fuck all you. Get all out of America. That's how I feel. Incredibly depressed all the time now. Thanks so much for killing all the DEI programs out there. It gives me a lot of hope as I advocate for audio description and accessibility in this country. Moving up, my number 1 film of the year is Fancy Dance. For best unsung movie of the year. I don't know. I feel like I'm the only person who ever sees this. I keep talking to people, and I haven't found anybody else who's ever seen Fancy Dance that isn't a critic, like in real life. Like in the real world, I've never met anybody who's... I've talked to the critics I know. I'm like, Lily Gladstone was really great in Fancy Dance. I'm like, what? What is that? I'm like, I voted for it. I can't get it anywhere. I don't think it got any Independent Spirit nominations. It's like, meanwhile, like Jazzy gets in, and I'm like, guys, Lily Gladstone made a really good movie this year, and I actually liked her better in Fancy Dance than I did in Killers of the Flower Moon. It really allowed her to be more dynamic as an actress. She's actually the lead of the movie instead of having to play second fiddle to Leonardo DiCaprio, the white guy in a movie about Native Americans, which makes no sense. But here's a movie that's about Indigenous people, and she is actually front and center and is actually the lead of the movie. And I loved it. I love her in it. And it's also a directorial debut, so it did make my first-time feature list for Erica Tremblay. And it also, I've already put it on the supporting actress list, and it will be on my actress list, obviously. I can't leap that much praise on Fancy Dance and not put Lily Gladstone somewhere on my actress list. You'll just have to find out where by watching that list yourself. Maybe Phoebe Ray Taylor's on there too. You don't know. Maybe from Out of My Mind. You don't know what I'm going to do. I'm crazy. We've ended my inclusion and equity and diversity, so I can do whatever I want now. I'm just man without a leash. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.